And let's begin with the bank crisis, which has worsened Ghana's unemployment rate. So far, 700 workers have lost their jobs. Among the 700 workers are breadwinners who have other dependents. So you can imagine the economic hardships people are going through. Now, many people in the media have also had their share of these layoffs. In these muddy economic times, what's on your mind?
A bit sad, it's sad. Quite, looking at the country we are now, how things are going, the economy, it will be hard for them, I know, because going home without even any backup plan, no job probably you might even think of. It will be sad. I mean, some have families to take care of, children to look after, school fees, and all of a sudden this thing just pops in that they should go home, no work. I believe that these companies should reconsider.
If somebody, for instance, wants to place an advert, they prefer a station that has a wider coverage, and then that is listened to by most people. So I think it's really affecting the smaller media houses, so they are not able to make end meet, and then that situation will also, cause them to not to be low on revenue. So it's a very unfortunate situation, and I think these days we are witnessing a lot of those instances when people are losing their jobs.
I think mismanagement, and we are being hypocrites as Ghanaians. When we are working in an institution and something is going on, you fear to say it, and these are the end results. So people should be bold enough to say, oh, maybe, this, I think if when we do it like this, or when there is something going on which the public must know, we must let them know at the right time.
Well, it looks like a very unpleasant situation we're having in the country right now. I think earlier on I had the opportunity to speak with Austin Gami,
right,
who is the labor expert, but he's actually blaming individuals, and he's saying that, we have to take some responsibility instead of blaming government entirely for the situation. And he makes the point that, people are being less productive and they still want to be retained at workplaces and all of that. But beyond that, Israel, I think
it's a point that can be argued. It's about how these businesses were set up in the first place, because if you're arguing about the fact that people have been laid off, and yes, people have been laid off, and it's not a pleasant situation.
Never.
But if you're arguing that people probably have been laid off and it's unpleasant, and so should we have maintained the status quo, as in allow the businesses to operate the way they were operating and probably pile up more debts, so that eventually when government has to intervene, it gets a lot worse.
But the other question you would want to ask is, after the laying off, will the problems be resolved? Are we going to move away from how we used to be?
That is what
Has it ever worked?
That is what we're hoping.
Well, but I still think that there's some genuine concern out there. And my first line, I talked about how these 700 people are also breadwinners. And if one person is taking care of about 10 people, then you can imagine times 700 times,
the number of people who have been deprived.
That's a lot of people out there. So we should look at, this genuine concerns. But we're trying to pull some of your comments on Facebook. But let's move on to the other issue, which is that Ghana is considering a $50 billion bond, and the payback time is within 100 years. There are many who are questioning why our grandchildren should pay for debts incurred by their grandfathers. What do you think?
It is prudent in the sense that the government cannot finance those projects, and if any other country like China can finance us, why not? Because it will benefit the country as well and the next generation, even though they are coming to pay. You see, politicians are like that. When they are in opposition, they criticize the ruling government that you are taking too much loans. But without loans, we can't do projects.
I think already the country is owing, and I don't think the step taken by the government to go into such loan will help the country. So I think there should be an alternative way, to sort that out. And I think it will not help the country, since it is something that generations, that is our great-grandchildren, will come and face. I think it is not advisable.
It is not prudent. It is not prudent. It is not prudent because we could have raised enough money from domestic markets because these are the basic needs that the government should be able to achieve.
Right, so let's get on to Facebook and check out the comments on the 50 billion that century bond. Ernest Hieno says Austria, with a GDP of 390 billion US dollars, 2016 issued a century bond of $4.2 billion, which is the highest on the bond market. Mexico, with a GDP of $1.076 trillion, 2016, issued a $1.7 billion US bond. All these countries have issued their century bonds not even more than 2% of GDP. So on what basis can an economy of Ghana with GDP of 47 billion US dollars support a $50 billion century bond? That's over 100% of GDP. How is this huge debt going to be serviced annually? This will increase our debt stock, embedding the taxpayer. It's not prudent. Among Kwapes, he says Ghanaians have nothing to fear because our beloved country is in safe hands. Akufo-Addo is not Sika D4 like UNAPO, so we don't need to be worried. It will be used for the intended purposes. James Abusanga says, when African leaders and Africans in general stop leaving debts for the unborn ones, it is a sad phenomenon. And
RK Frimpong Manson says, who advises this government? A $50 billion century bond? Where's the $19 billion facility Dr. Bawumia claimed he secured from China? Ghanaians unfortunately got a very lazy government that's not ready to think outside the box. This is what you see when a government is set up on a confused foundation. God help Ghana. And Dennis Kojo Target says, this is future slavery for unborn generations for our dear nation. How can a sensitive government leave behind debt for generations unborn? And this is the administration that Mr. President said is building devoid of aid. Those are very interesting comments on this issue. And while we try to pull the first issue, your comments on the first issue, let's look at our relationship issues. And you are in a good relationship. You're just imagining yourself and you love your partner so much that you will even consider taking a bullet for him or her. Now, you have so much faith in him or her, and then he or she cheats on you. At that point, you're so hurt that it feels a razor is slicing through your heart. What will it take to regain broken trust?
It depends on the kind of woman I'm living with, whereby when she cheats on me, I will be able to forgive her. There are some women, the kind of attitude they have, when they cheat on you, I don't think I, for instance, will forgive her. Yes, because, for instance, you go and marry a woman, you trusted her a lot. Sometimes when she does something, we are all human. You can forgive her. But sometimes on condition, I cannot give her the 100%. Yes, it's at least I will give her 70% out of that.
The way she behaves, her behavior will also count. And if her behavior changes towards me, the way she talks to me, the way she reacts to her friends and then other people, I think my trust in her will be strong, because I believe that if she has cheated on me and I realize that she has still cheated on me and she has confessed, I think there are so many ways to confront that issue.
Trust there is, once broken, it will be very difficult. But unless you have a forgiving heart, yeah, someone who doesn't keep things, you say it, and then, yeah, maybe through the person's action as well, the person must prove to you that I'm no more in that way. But first it must come from you, the individual who is forgiving the person too. You have a role to play. But I don't think when someone cheats, it's better you move on and leave the person and find your way.
At least give that person the space, the time. You can even steady him or her, and then you can know probably whether he has changed or not. And even if there's anything you yourself can do to help the person, you do to help the person to make things better.
Well, Israel, what would it take to, gain back your trust from your, broken trust of your partner?
I'm not sure. If it's gone, it's gone.
It will never come back.
Yeah.
That's quite dangerous.
Yeah.
Israel.
So don't let it happen.
Then I'll make sure I never. All right, let's check out your comments on the first issue.
Okay, let's keep the first one. Odromafo says, where's the best economic lecturer in the whole wide world? Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. What has happened to the 170 economic questions he said for former late Vice President Mr. Arthur? And that's a question that you're asking. And there goes on, what has happened to the many lectures running mate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was offering in opposition? Why has he, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, stopped such lectures in the midst of the numerous layoffs? Okay, so that's the issue of your comments on the first issue we talked about here on JNI.